second edition of the Economic Times Global Capability Center Summit was held recently to bring together cross-industry leaders to discuss and deliberate on key trends, best practices, and the future of the industry. This time, the discussions mainly focused around the key pillars of transformation, innovation, virtualization, and talent, which would help the parent organization achieve in driving a fit future. The virtual event was flagged off with the welcome address by Vimi Giriwal-Kar, Global Clients and Industries Leader, UK Vice Chair, Deloitte.
Welcome to the Global Capability Centres Summit presented by the Economic Times. As I'm sure you all know, India is home to more than 1,400 global capability centres, serving some of the largest and most important global organisations. Over the years, GCCs have evolved in maturity. They were once back office operations, and they're now very much into business critical functions that drive value creation. They support core business functions, including sales, marketing, research and development, product innovation, and most of the technology platforms used for interacting with customers, and as well as managing internal operations. They're now considered a fundamental and integral part of businesses' ecosystems and really quite central to their transformation initiatives. So we truly are in the middle of a transformative time, and businesses see GCCs as an important part of the global ecosystem that can deliver tremendous value. Thank you all for participating in today's summit. I hope you get a lot out of the sessions and enjoy this opportunity for virtual networking with our speakers and with your fellow attendees.
In the opening keynote address, Sivakumar Padmanabhan, Managing Director and Head of Global Technology Center, AstraZeneca India, presented his views on how our GCC is working on sustainability in the post-pandemic era. Here are the highlights.
As you all know, we've had a really exciting couple of years in the GCC community. 2021 has been a really good year for GCC ecosystem in India. We now have close to 1,500 GCCs in India, expected to reach almost 2,000 by 2025, going from $40 billion of US dollars of output in this year expected output to maybe almost 60 to 80 billion, depending on the scenarios by 25, 26. And the future is indeed bright, right? There are multiple avenues that the GCC ecosystem can grow in India. We could be attracting many new companies to set up GCCs, especially in the areas of capability development, innovation, and also expand the share of the transactional services as well as we tap into more of the tier 2 type of cities. I think we can really grow the pie there in terms of the GCC ecosystem. I think what's really driving that is that the value that these companies create, the parent companies create, is being constantly transferred from traditional physical value chains to digital platforms.
Next in line was a special address by Sanjay Dora, Country Operations Executive, Innovation and Capability Centers, ICCs in India, Telstra. He gave an insight into how GCC is evolving and the reasons for its growth in India.
I believe that GCCs, particularly in the last few years, have taken a big leap and will further continue to evolve from a conventional cost arbitrage driven service provider kind of a setup to a more of a catalyst role that is not just focused on building long-term talent and capability, but strengthening the resilience, driving the innovation and the change agenda, and thereby adding more value towards the transformation of the broader organization. I think there are three broad areas I look at which GCCs need to prioritize their focus on. I think firstly, figuring out the right magic formula that gives them the optimal mix of organic in-house capability development versus leveraging the partner ecosystem that is fast evolving. Secondly, I think the active engagement with the startup ecosystem. GCCs can benefit immensely by focusing their startup engagement and initiatives on clearly identified high-impact business problems and use cases. It's really vital for GCCs to generate excitement and demonstrate that value through quick wins by focusing on areas where there is a critical and urgent business need, building credibility for their investments, and using that credibility to further identify additional high-impact use cases to build the momentum for the organization. And thirdly, I think the war for talent is going to get more and more intense in India, particularly for emerging skills that are in high demand. And I see this entire employee lifecycle management, right from talent acquisition to engagement, to development, to retention, as a key risk if not managed well. And it can actually unsuspectingly derail everything else if not managed well. So to sum it up, I think GCCs need to invest in their people to make them ready for future skills, develop a right mix of in-house capability and partner leverage, and accelerated deployment of emerging technologies and underpinned by a people-first culture with a strong will and genuine commitment to build a great place to work.
In the inaugural panel discussion, the panelists shared their experience regarding the role of GCC and how their operating model has evolved. Take a look.
A very warm welcome to everyone, and I'll request the panelists to just maybe spend a little time walking us through their journey in terms of, how their operating model has evolved.
This whole industry is built on 20 years of transparency and trust. So it's been a long journey. The world is moving towards a very diversified portfolio of activities, which we'll talk about during the course of today. And I think the latest on this is all the emerging technologies and the product organization, the blockchain, the crypto platforms, the new payment methodologies, and how the GCCs are participating in the innovation and accelerated transformation agenda. And over a period of time, the boundaries between different functions are collapsing, and it is becoming a team-based agile model, leading to a very high-speed digital transformation and creating a business impact for the companies and for the organization and for all stakeholders, including clients.
I think when we look at the GCCs, a couple of things which stand out to me when especially looking at the last 2 years. Number one is that the GCCs displayed a tremendous amount of agility and nimbleness in terms of how they stepped up and responded. And I think fundamentally, retaining this agility is going to be something interesting going forward. The other thing I think which has happened is, with a very narrow GCC only lens, I think has been that the GCCs are across their parent organizations uniformly being recognized as being extremely core, critical, and therefore the visibility of the impact the GCCs have, not just in terms of services and solution delivery, but in terms of strategic impact they can have, is becoming much more spoken about right now. Almost uniformly, all organizations are saying that they are starting to move up the value chain and being more impactful.
So just a quick background about Telstra. We are Australia's leading telecom and technology company with incredible brand and reputation. And in India, we set up our innovation and capability centers in 2019. This was to harness local talent, nurture new capabilities, and drive innovation with a vision to be an epicenter of talent and innovation that drives Telstra's digitally connected future. That has been the vision with which we have been operating in the last 3 years in India. We are on a very exciting journey with new ways of working under agile model, and with over 50% of our workforce globally across India, Australia, and other locations has transitioned to the new model. And what this new model has done is it has truly reshaped the way we function as an organization, with end-to-end ownership and accountability with groups and product owners on one hand, while the chapters are focused on developing people, domain skills, and technology capabilities, regardless of the location we are based in. So that's where we are in terms of our journey and our operating model in India.
In the last 2 years, what we've seen as a technology delivery company, we've seen a tremendous change in the way GCCs have adopted. We're part of the entire journey and the process together, both from the enterprise solution perspective or the client solution perspective. We had to change everything, and our approach also changed drastically. The other aspect I can tell you, Gaurav, is we completely moved 2 years back from in-office to remote or work from home. And it is very difficult as a task to be a sales maker and communicate and talk to customers and be a part of their transformation journey. So it's been pretty exciting till now, and most of us are now getting back to office. What is going to be very, very critical is to make the changes in terms of how you're going to work in a hybrid mode or straight away work from home or maybe work from site, and then how you enable this digital technology transformation to make the stakeholder, which means the employee, really happy, productive, and be part of the journey.
I feel over the last 3 years, we've kind of increased the seniority of our talent. We may not have increased in numbers, and we actually will continue to grow and increase in numbers. But I think more importantly, I feel like the profile of the talent in the GCCs has dramatically increased in terms of seniority. We have a significant number of new VP level roles in the GCC, which are now, I think, again, just kind of shows the flavor of which direction GCCs are moving. And this is not just across TR, but also across other GCCs I work with, where there's a lot more decision making happening in the GCCs as opposed to the past. I feel like there's much more collaboration around the way forward, not just for the GCC, but for the entire organization, kind of stemming and incubating from the GCC in terms of innovation and the like, which is also a key topic on this for the agenda.
GCCs have gone through a lot of changes that has also led to changes in their operating models. We had in the ET GCC Summit experienced set of panelists share their perspective on various operating models. 3 things that they said are very important that the GCCs need to keep in mind while making the operating model choice. One is it should help them drive business impact. Second is it should help them stay agile. And the third one is that it should help them explore the larger ecosystem and talent that is available today, rather than focusing on just the capabilities inside the GCC.
Next in line are some high points from a special leadership talk on innovation from and at GICs with Prakash Bodla. Mr. Bodla is the Managing Director of Carrier Technologies India Limited, where he is heading Carrier Global Corporation's largest global R&D centers situated in Hyderabad and Gdansk in Poland.
Journey for the GCCs has come a very long way. And today, they are actually helping drive strategic transformation, including the digital transformation. One thing that is also unique with India is that we have over 1,000 universities and probably about more than 60,000 startups in India. And it has become imperative for the GCCs to collaborate with this external ecosystem and accelerate their overall innovation journey. The GCCs has this best kind of an opportunity where they can think like a startup. With over 16,000 startups that we have, we can actually take a look into them, how they operate, and working for a multinational company. As a result, we can actually get the best of these 2 worlds and then operate on the needle for the innovation.
Next in line was a thought-provoking session based on the topic of cybersecurity, how real is the issue? The session was presented by Sudeep K. Goswami, Director and GM, South India and Startups, Dell Technologies. Here are some highlights.
In a global IT spending intentions survey across mid-sized organizations, 64% of them responded that their IT environments have become a lot more complex in the last 2 years. When we at Dell also spoke to our partners and customers, we noticed that in addition to these 3, they had some more concerns, like they have a very limited staff, a limited understanding of how attacks can be prevented. If you look at global data, you see that really nobody is immune. Trends like remote working, increasing data, increased adoption of cloud, etc., they are also leading to greater potential for cyber attack. Attackers can move along this cutting-edge technology transformation, exploiting vulnerabilities as per the World Economic Forum. You can say, where am I going with all this? Well, I'm going to tell you that you require a strategy to combat and counter cyber attacks, and you need that strategy to be cyber resilient. It would require more technology capabilities, and it would require more people, process, and technology into a holistic framework that can protect your entire organization. Cyber recovery is an important solution to understand because it protects your organization and business from potential destruction. And not all solutions are created equally. If there are 3 messages I could leave with you in my talk today, those will be: number 1, cybersecurity is an important thing for your organization to think about and must be planned now. Number 2, cyber recovery differs from disaster recovery, and you must plan for all its aspects to be safe. Third, optimum solutions to tackle cyber threats exist. Organizations like Dell Technologies can help you ramp up on your readiness to cyber threats. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
During the fireside chat, Sangeeta Sharma from HSBC and Gopa Kumar Subramanian from Fiserv Global Services shared their views of the topic of latest trends driving transformation in the GCC sector. Take a look.
In terms of GCC across financial sectors, we've had really exciting evolution over the last 2 decades. One of the important aspects of that is playing a vital role in transformation of the processes and service delivery. And if I give some examples of what I have seen and done within our centers and also globally on the payment side, total shift in terms of mindset, right? Where we used to be delivery mindset. One of the latest example is almost 266 strategic automation projects we have delivered just out of our GSC centers. So there are a lot of tools. If I talk about mortgage as a journey or conversation banking and the usage of and adoption of conversation banking in terms of our day-to-day also, our contact center colleagues who used to take traditional calls now are actually using those tools to solve for any customer journey and any challenges and problems which customers would have. We launched digital transformation symposium. Through the digital transformation symposium, we had our startups, strategic partners like yourself, and our own colleagues who have come up with some great ideas and thoughts which now became a really long-term strategy for the bank, actually giving demo and sharing those best practices with all our colleagues within the GCC centers. So these are just examples, Ravi, and I'm really, really delighted that we have walked this journey really, really fast.
I think one of the biggest assets we have is our people. And I think it's up to all of us at GCCs to build on that and provide the opportunities to continue to build more influencers and thinkers rather than doers. In Fiserv Global Services, our GCC in India, we have centers of excellence around cloud, around automation, around mobile technologies, which act as special consultants and accelerate this mindset growth. And the other key thing that we are focused on is bringing the client and the market closer to the engineering organization. How are we doing that? We are building product management capability in our GCC in India. Number one, it allows our businesses, not the technology groups, the businesses to have product management capability organizations, large ones that they can rely on to drive the business. But the other big plus is you have the engineering organization and the product organization sitting next to each other, provides a rich context to the engineering or development organization on the work they are doing, allows the product management organization to better contribute to the technology. So another powerful mix to drive the strategy for the larger company. So I think we a ball has been set rolling. I think all the GCCs are on the spectrum somewhere there. Some of us are ahead, some of us are catching up. But I think this move from doer to influencer is on an inexorable path.
Finally, towards the last leg of the event, an array of industry leaders joined the panel discussion to deliberate on the topic of advancing technologies, a lever of competitiveness for businesses in India and globally.
So in terms of my point of view, Manojit, I think what I have seen is the evolution that has happened and the speed at which this evolution has happened in the GCC business, right? When it started out, this is not new to India or not new to any of us. If you ask me the way we run or the way I run my GCC here in Diamond India Commercial Vehicles in Chennai is, I genuinely believe that we have the potential in India collectively to be the Silicon Valley of Asia. I think there is absolutely no one who has an ounce of doubt that in terms of capability and capacity and potential, we lack that. I think it's a matter of us now all getting together, figuring out what is the right operating model. How do we groom the service-based mindset, build the right culture, and ensure that this comes out of India for the rest of the world?
For us, from a partnership standpoint, there is a big shift, right? We are now engaged in a lot of outcome-based conversations with GCCs, right? They're talking to us about how can you help us? And Chulanga was mentioning about strategic partnership, right? So how can you technically help us deliver some, cutting-edge, bleeding-edge programs, right? We use the term MVP, right? The minimum viable but maximum value product. And all customers turn around and say, time to market. Hey, I wanted apps tomorrow. I want talent, and I want it to be delivered. I think the true success mantra for me when I look at the GCC is really the paradigm shift of being the GCC as part of the extension of the organization. I can tell you that value beyond service is now the new table stakes, right? And the most critical component, right, in finding, and I think some of the panelists brought that out, is really about finding the right talent at the right place. What we have to really start to do is to leverage the power of co-location. Like in our case, we have a very large technology center who's sitting side by side with our service delivery centers. So how do we synergize, right? How do we create innovation? And that's where we are, right? So that's the agenda that we have, which is about accelerating the value delivery for the organization and really increasing digital adoption, right? Which of course has taken a quantum leap both at an organization and industry level. So that's the kind of inflection point we are in, and that's the ask that we are starting to get more and more. So the point now is that how do we pivot and make sure that we are delivering to that promise for the overall organization.
So I was just saying that it's before even getting on to talk about the evolution of GCC, I see this as interesting times in the overall way the landscape is working in terms of global enterprises. Because always global enterprises have been working through unprecedented change. And being part of Verizon India, what I've also seen is the whole dynamics have changed, and we are here in a space where, as a global marketplace, we need to change everything in terms of how we do work, how we provide solutions and support. The role of GCCs have really changed. The role of GCCs today is not just a kind of a volume game, it's a value game. It is not just about just creating scale, but also creating the right kind of skills which will help us adapt towards the shift.
I think the topic we obviously want to talk, right? And there are many things, like when organizations, if you looked at 10 years to 5 years to now, the market dynamics have changed. And I think the biggest single change that we've seen is the way the global organization looks at their, what I call as their offices anywhere else in the world, right? So one of the things that we potentially need to look at is how do we be seen as an integral part of the global organization? Because from there stems many of the things that we will provide to the potential talent that we have in the country, right? Innovation without revenue is just one vector, right? But innovation with revenue can be really powerful because that puts you in a center stage from a global organization perspective. So the ecosystem from a global talent pool has just exploded. With that, innovation is just an outcome, but the foundational building blocks are something that we need to build today, here and now. And COVID has just helped us make that all that pretty easy.
It's a delight and a privilege to be here today. I've spent the last 6 years building out the GCCs for City in India. We have a large network spread across 5 cities and almost 22,000 employees today, one of our strategic global networks. And it's been an absolute pleasure to see the growth of this network over the last 6 years. But what's been more important to me is to have been part of the India GCC journey in this time period. It's been a period of rapid growth and tectonic change in the landscape, as the Indian GCC industry has gone from strength to strength to strength. For me, the transition has been typified by a small change that we did at City, a small, subtle but meaningful change, where we changed the nomenclature of the GCCs from City Service Center, which is what we used to call them earlier, to City Solution Center, which is what we call it now. I strongly believe as a sector, we are in the right place at the right time, doing the right things and collaborating together. So let's continue that and let's succeed together.